I like to watch this film. Remind me of
Lauren,
life.
do you want to be tempted by?
I'm
Okay.
tempted.
So guys, let's get started. So this is the Joshua House team right here. And I know you've all been hearing a lot about our party for them. We brought them in person so they could share their story, their vision, really the purpose and the niche that they're meeting here in Orange County. Feel free to ask. There's going to be plenty of time for questions. I have Winston Wardwell. I have Gabriel, and I don't know your last name.
Mahia.
Mahia, and Jim Glenn. And they'll be sharing with us. So after they share it, please feel free to ask questions. If you're interested in we will be going and serving with them and for them on the 18th. And if you have other ideas, there are donations that can be made, like clothing wise, because they have thrift stores. Just ask a lot of questions when you're done listening. So you guys can take over.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Bonnie. First off, I just want to thank you all for being here, and I definitely want to thank U.S. Alliance for extending this invitation, not just to be here, but for the partnership in general with Aiden Whispers. And it's just a huge blessing to see the care and see the heart of this company. And I met many of you before, probably at work parties. Kristen is my wife. There you are.
Oh, there you
The much better half.
I think we could add a couple more much better. We don't have time. But so good to see you all again. And so Joshua House and Hope Restoration Ministries has been around since '09. And it's a men's home, and now multiple men's homes, but it started as one. And the goal of Joshua House is really to help individuals not just become free from addictions to drugs and alcohol, but also to have a growing relationship with our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And so it started in '09 with Pastor Jim Glenn and his partner, JP. And most of the individuals that come through our program have a history of either incarceration, gang affiliation, or homelessness, or a collaboration of multiple, or all at points. And with that comes unique struggles, walls, traumas, and it takes a lot of work to break through that, to break that kind of lifestyle. So it's a year-long process with us, but we've extended it to 2 year to a 2.5 from start to finish. The first 2 months, it starts at a ranch. Pretty much, most of them are out of Phelan. There's a bunch of ranches that we partner with, but they're out in Phelan, just kind of in the middle of nowhere, honestly, to remove temptation and really just to detox the body, detox the mind, and just get a growing relationship with Christ. We basically say, when we describe the ranches, it's beans, rice, and Jesus Christ. That's really what it is. It's simple. It's a way to just kind of reset. And then by the time they come to us after 2 months, they have 10 months with us in our first phase. And then we offer them a year to 1.5 years in one of our second phase homes, which is affordable housing, affordable rent, $550 a person, all in. And we still have basically a smaller umbrella once they get to that point. So there's still accountability. There's still, you're in a home of men that are aiming in the same direction as you and can really help each other up. But in our first phase, we have a 3-pronged focus, right? So the first one, as I mentioned, is a discipleship of Jesus Christ, a spiritual growth relationship with our Lord and Savior. And what we do to help the men with that is Pastor Jim and I do one-on-one pastoral care. We have Bible studies every morning, and we really have this communal aspect that I see a lot here, where it's you're a family, you're a part of a family, and when you enter into the home, you're part of our family, and whatever struggles that person has, we take on those burdens ourselves as well. And I see that actually a lot from the time I've spent with U.S. Alliance, that when you're a family, you care for each other, you support each other, you lift each other up, and so that's what we like to do with our brothers as well. Secondly, the second prong is a recovery aspect. So everyone in our program, works a 12-step program. They attend recovery meetings at night. They have a sponsor that helps dig into the nitty-gritty stuff that most men don't want to deal with or discuss even, that we tend to bury deep down. So the guys have to do the work. Honestly, we can't make them do it, but to be a part of the program, the guys have to do the work. And then the third prong is really just work therapy. And that's really just, they work in our thrift stores. We have 2 thrift stores that fund the entire program, between that and some faithful donors that we have. But those thrift stores, some of these men haven't worked ever, and some haven't had a job in 10 years, and they need that discipline of, okay, I'm working a 9 to 4:30 is what our schedule is, or 11 to 6, and they have to be on time. They have to develop those disciplines of life to prepare them for what's next. Because if we just help the other 2 areas, but they don't grow that work discipline, then they're not going to have what they need when they graduate. So those are the 3 prongs that we focus on. And Gabe handles a lot of the personal development at work. I handle the recovery aspects as a recovery pastor, and Pastor Jim Glenn handles the discipleship aspects as the discipleship pastor. So I didn't want to I feel like that's enough info, but obviously if you have more questions about any of those aspects or how we do that, please feel free to ask those at the end. One of the things that we're trying to work toward is another second phase home, because we have this amazing problem where more people are graduating, more people are being successful, more people are taking those next steps, and we're running out of beds. We're out of beds. So there used to not really be this turnaround in our second phase home, because just due to relapses or people going in different directions. And now we're at a place where everyone is graduating and everyone's looking for a next step. And as you all know, Orange County is kind of a hard place to get back on your feet. So we want to help them. So that's one of our next steps that we're focused on is getting another house. We have one that is already willing to work with us across the street, so they'll still be in close proximity. So if anyone feels like they're looking for something to pour into, that would be a huge blessing to help these men take a next step in that. So again, if you have any questions about any of these areas, I'd love to answer them after we finish up here. So I'm going to invite up Gabe here. He's going to share a little bit of his testimony with you.
How you guys doing? Thanks for having me. So it's a long story, but I'm just kind of shortened it. Never grew up in church. I didn't think, I was taught at a young age about working and those kind of disciplines. So I always had those disciplines, and grew up 5 boys. My mom had 5 boys. She has her hands full. She had her hands full, to say the least. So we didn't grow up in church. We went to church for, like a wedding or funerals. And it's kind of like, God can stay out there and I'll stay right here. We were just raised that way. Got into gangs early. I was taught, grew up in a violent environment. So that was just like what we did. And so I started getting into gangs. Never really got into drugs at all. Sold drugs, but never used them. Always had this drug addicts over there. I had that little, judgmental bias. But I was helping them being drug addicts. It made no sense. So dropped out of school. I think ninth grade. Started getting into some serious trouble, and I had my daughter at 19. My oldest daughter, she just turned 24 last week, and so I had her at 19, and went to prison for 5 years, and it just was kind of like, when I got out, I was like, I'm focused. I'm just gonna work, provide for their mom and her. So I got out, and for about 6 years, I was just, I drank on the weekends, worked a lot, partied a lot, no drugs still. And I had my other daughter. Saturday she just turned 19, and my brother passed away. He got shot and killed, and then I started using drugs. You know, it was just kind of just so, you know, we had a company. So we have a aerospace company, a machine shop. So it was hard because now I'm working, dealing with a loss, and I'm, you know, how do I stay up? How do I work? How do I do this? So I started using drugs, and that just opened, just led me down a real bad path for about 10 to 12 years. Yeah, about 10 to 12 years left me on a bad path. So I started using. I'm out of prison for 11 years, working, and go back to prison because I'm using, and now I'm back dealing with, you know, street life, back in, you know, neighborhood stuff, just going all the way backwards, you know. And, you know, trying to deal with my brother's loss. I didn't see it then, but I'm just, you know, trying to find I was fighting with myself to deal with this, like trying to support my family, you know, be a husband and be a father, but there's still an old lifestyle that's still trying to creep in, you know, like you just let someone do that to your brother, right? And that's just like, it was killing me inside. So I had my kids that were kind of anchoring me down, and I'm just like, yeah, I gotta do something, you know, and just that constant battle. So I'm gonna just use drugs right now and just kind of cover that. My brother passed, when my first brother passed, my mom came to Christ, right? And I just, you know, kind of thought she was crazy. She's, you know, telling me about God, and I'm just like, all right, Mom, you deal with this how you want. Like, I could just tell you're just hurting, you know, you're not making sense here, right? And so slowly but surely, she's just, you know, praying and praying. Like, my mom prays a lot, and you know, she's awesome. Like, where I am today is, you know, she's played a huge part in my faith, you know. But it wasn't like that at the beginning. I was like, oh man, Mom's losing it, you know. She's talking to someone that ain't there. You know, she's hoping that for this thing that's like, it's not gonna happen. Like, they're just, you know, have all these doubts because we didn't grow up, no one teaching us about Jesus, nothing. So I have this understanding of him that was just way off, you know. There was no people around me, you know, even in prison, I think there was a couple people trying to reach out to me, but I was not really in a place to have it. So I got out of prison. I went back to prison 11 years later. I'm using, so I get out again, and I tried, you know, my ex, we tried to work it out again. We have my son, and, you know, I'm just still fighting with this addiction, you know, staying sober for a few months because I felt like, oh, if I stay sober for a few months, I'll be all right. Then I know I have a control over this, and I don't, you know, I won't have to get high anymore because I have it under control. But, you know, that was just a lie. I had my son, and he was another anchor. You know, God used my children because I've had my parents growing up, and I believe they did the best they could. They were brought up a certain way, and, you know, it's just that snowball effect that, you know, life does if you don't have Christ inside of you, you know. So I know they did the best they can, for sure. Like, I don't blame anything that I've done on the way I was brought up. So my dad's always been around, my mom, hard workers, and so I had that inside me, like, I'm gonna be a father. Like, I take care of my children, but I still had this sin that I was just battling with, that you can't control that. Without Jesus, you can't control that. So I get out of prison, and I start using again. And my ex, she's just like, you know, this is kind of, we've had 24, since the 90s we've been together, and it's like, she's just like, you know, she's been through the ringer, you know, and she's like, you know, I can't do this, like, you're just not, yeah, can't count on you, you know? You're good when you're good, but when you're not good, like, I don't even know who you are. So I started getting really bad into my addiction again, and getting back involved in things that you know, could leave me in prison again for a long, probably not coming out, you know? And I'm fighting that because I'm now, you know, knee deep in that, knee deep in my addiction. And I'm just like, I can't deal with this, you know, cops, have like 4 cases I'm fighting. And I look at it now and, you know, it's God's grace on my life. He was just like trying to put the brakes on me, you know, like, dude, you're not coming back from this one. You're not coming back. And I'm just like, I got this. I'm a pretty slick criminal, you know, like I get away with a lot of stuff. That's what I'm thinking, right? And I'm just finally I got raided by Secret Service, and they're just like crawling everywhere, and I'm just like, I'm pretty slick, man. These guys are like, they don't find nothing, and they don't know, and I'm just like, sorry guys, see you later, get out of here. And I'm thinking I'm slick, and God's just like, dude, I'm trying to get your attention here, right? So my addiction gets worse and worse because now I want to know who told on me. And now I'm going down that rabbit hole, and it just leads to more bad things. And my addiction started getting worse. My anger is getting worse. Everything's getting worse. And you know, my kids are, that rope is just getting cut. You know, my kids love me, but I'll be there tomorrow. But then it don't come for a couple days. You know, then I'm like 4 or 5 days later, I'm gonna go back. Dang, my kids just love me as soon as I get there anyways. And, you know, they're just going through that, and, you know, dad's just somewhere not there right now, you know. And so I started using it even more, and now I don't have no control this time, like no control. And a cousin of mine, he's a pastor now. We used to run around the streets together. We used to, you know, sell each other guns and things like that. And he's a pastor now. He's doing awesome. And he goes, hey, I know this place in Phelan. And I'm like, okay, good. I just need to get sober. I need to deal with this because this is not happening. So I go pull up to Phelan. I don't know if you guys been out there before.
No.
Body
Oh,
worked out
body
for
work.
you.
Okay, all right. Yeah, you don't want to go there.
I worked there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you know.
87.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Where nobody's there.
Yeah, there's nobody there. So it's a big property, few acres, and a couple mobile homes, and you know, there's a school bus that says "We love the children." I'm just like, what's going on? Like I'm thinking like this is a bad joke. I go, he's like, you know, just stay here for 60 days and we'll see what we can do for you. Give you a hand. You're not coming back from this, you know, like what you're doing, and just people are just scared to be around, you know, like you're not coming back. Yeah, I got this. Don't worry. You know, I just need to sober up, because once I'm sober, I'm that slick guy again that can get away with everything. And so I go there, and when I get there, you know, a couple guys sitting up front, and I don't know if you guys ever seen the Beverly Hillbillies. Like all the guys there have no front teeth. You know, they look like they've had a long life, you know, a lot of struggles. And I'm just like, I look at him, I'm like, what's going on, dude? I'm not staying here. I don't know what. It's like a cult here. That's what I'm thinking, right? I'm just like, and I just remember the guy, he's just like, hey, do you love Jesus? I'm like, I'm not answering this guy. I'm thinking, you know, I have like 4 or 5 cases. I'm like, everyone's a cop. Everyone tries to talk to me. I'm like, nah, he's a cop. I'm good. People are just trying to reach out to me, and I'm just like, you're a cop. Get out of here, you know? But that kind of mentality is kind of what kept me, well, I know God kept me out, but I thought that mentality was keeping people out, like, you know. But, so I go there, and I'm just sitting there every morning. We read Proverbs, and I'm just, I'm reading, I'm just like, dang, this is some serious stuff right here. I go, you know, I'm just thinking, like, if this stuff's real, like, I might be in trouble. Like, this is real, you know, God was just like softening my heart, you know, and he's just letting me see things. I'm just like, this is real. I was telling the guy, like, do you believe this? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, dude, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble, you know, like I went to 18, 19, I went to jail for 2 attempted murders, I've been in gangs and violence, and I've done a lot of stuff, and according to this book, I'm in a lot of trouble, right? And, then they start sharing Jesus, and I'm just like, man, it's hard for me to buy this, man. A ticket for free, right? There has to be a catch, So anyways, God gave me the ability to believe. And so I get out, it's a 60-day program, as Winston was sharing, and I was excited, I know for a fact I was saved, like God took scales off my eyes, not like literal scales, but like he let me see these things, and I was like, so I got out of the ranch. I only lasted 29 days, and but I was back the next day. I was real big materialistic kind of person, brand name stuff. I came back to the ranch. I think I donated probably 40, 50 pairs of Jordans, and I just came back with a whole truckload of stuff. Like God was just like, you don't need that stuff. It's all ill-gotten, And that first they didn't want to let me back in because I left early. I'm like, dude, I just came to donate a couple TVs, clothes, and all this stuff, and it's like, I don't need this. I have my garage full of stuff that I don't need anymore. And so I stayed sober 6 months, and relapsed again. I was single. I was just like, I met with some. I was actually riding my bike. I started exercising or riding a bike, and seeing 2 girls I knew. They pulled up to me like, hey, they're like, hey, you want to get high? I'm like, well, I'm going to church. I start talking to them, but as I'm talking, I'm getting in the car. Right. And I'm like, whoops. So I started using again, but it only lasted a week. I was like, God, my conviction's heavy, and I'm just like, I can't deal with this. Like, I can't deal with this. What do? I'm like, I'm gonna go back to the ranch. Went back to the ranch. Lasted 58 days there, 2 days shy. I was still trying to run my own program a little, still trying to figure out this walk, and got into it with one of the overseers. He's, I'm right, so I want him to bow down, right? He's the one running the show, and I'm just like, well, I'm right, so I should get my way, right? It didn't work that way. So I just got my phone, and got an Uber, went home. I stayed sober 6 or 7 months again. This time I took my brother-in-law to the ranch, and when I took him there, because he was using, and he grew up with me because that's my ex's brother, and when his dad died, I took him in when he was 11, and I kind of raised him, and he picked up, of course, bad habits too, and I ended up taking him to the ranch. So when we get there, I'm like, hey, empty your pockets. He's like, what? I'm like, empty your pockets. I know you. What do you got in your pockets? I took it. He had drugs on him. So I put it away. I'm just like, all right, whatever. And I dropped him, left him at the ranch, went home, and in the morning the next day, I was getting ready for work, and I'm like, oh, I got this. And I'm like, oops, I could get some more work done, right? That was a lie again. So I started using again, and that lasted about 2.5 weeks. And I got sober for a week out there, and then I was like, I'm just gonna go back to the ranch. I just feel like God is just, my connection's gone, But in between all that, as soon as I got out of the ranch the other 2 times, I started serving kids ministry, started serving at church, and just kind of just been on fire since then. I've had those slip-ups as far as relapse. This June will be 3 years sober. So I go back to the ranch again, and this time God kind of now I was wondering why I'm getting high still, right? I'm like, why am I still getting high? I know I'm not supposed to. I know these things. And for me, it came in a form. My healing came in a form of forgiveness, right? forgiveness of, you know, my brother was shot and killed. It was kind of like, you got to forgive now. Like, we're not doing this dance again, you know. Like, so I'm sitting there like day 4 or 5, and you know, going through these little mind struggles in my head. Like, I want to get out of here. I don't want to go back home. I know I don't want to go back home. There's just too much temptation for me around there. Like, I know everybody everywhere, so I don't want to go home. And a guy he's in the program right now, John. He was on the phone. He's like, John, I'm back at the ranch. He's like, I'm at Joshua House. He's like, I'll save you a bed. I'm like, can you get me there early? I'm like, hey, I just wonder if they can take me there in like 2 weeks. He's like, I don't think that's gonna work. Just stay there 60. I'm like, I don't think I can do 60 days again, dude. This is not like a horse ranch, and this is not what's that show that's out right now?
Oh, Yellowstone?
Yellowstone. This ain't a ranch like that. It's not Yellowstone.
But there is a train station.
And if you leave the ranch, you have to walk to the train station. So I'm like, all right, I'll just sit there. But I'm sitting there one night, it's like 1 a.m, and I'm just, you know, awake, and God's like, you know, there's a cross that we put up, and we put a bench in front of it, and you know, we should just do like prayers right there. So I felt like God just like leading me out there, right? It's like 1:30 in the morning, and you know, God uses so many different things. He uses people. He uses, you know, like for me, I watched a movie on that morning, and it's about forgiving. You know, like we're all the same. When apart from Christ, you know, we're all this. You know, there's nothing good that dwells in us. So I'm just like, you know, I get out there and I'm just praying. And I felt like God just tell me like, you know, you just have unforgiveness and you're just being tortured by that, you know. And I was like, wow, okay. Like, I can't forgive this person. Like you know, I'm helping raise my niece, which I wasn't. And my brother's dead, family's apart, company's gone. All these things are like, how can I forgive somebody for that? Like, there's just no possible way. And then I just felt God ask me like, well, what makes you different than him? I'm like, all right, I'm gonna answer that one. We're gonna wrestle this out, and I'm gonna tell him how I'm different. But I couldn't think of nothing, you know. You know, he just hit the replay button on my life, and he's just like, how about this, and how about that, how about this, and I'm just like, but you know, like, you know, in the Bible it talks about like. He says, when you don't forgive, you know, your Heavenly Father you're gonna be tortured, and you know, and that's what was happening. You know, it's like, you know, you gotta forgive. And so that next day, that kind of changed everything for me. You know, people are like, yeah, you can't forgive that, you know, and it's like, you know, I just felt like I think I let it go that night. Took a little bit, but we stayed outside for a while, you know. I stayed outside praying and crying and laughing and just starting, you know, God was just like, you know, I gotta forgive this guy. So I ended up going to Joshua House, and you know, I'm a fresh Christian, and I was really rough around the edges.
Really? Oh.
You know, I'm trying to learn how to do these things, and you know, from going 40 years of living a certain way, you're just like, things are just, God's showing me these things, and I'm trying to live them out, and you know, I'm just stumbling and falling, and not using, but just, you know, with anger. You know, anger's been a big thing in my family. So I was there. I don't know if I almost got kicked out, but it was close, huh?
You were close.
It was
Yeah.
close. And yeah, so, you know, I was just sitting there one day. I had to move houses because, you know, I wasn't, you know, I was rough around the edges, as I said. And I just was reading, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna give this a try. You know, I've been trying it. You know, it's been a couple years, but like, I'm just gonna put my, you know, just kind of let God work. You know. And since then, you know, life's been different. You know, like when I went to Joshua House, God showed me in a way, you know, just that He's gonna put the right people in front of me. You know, and just, stay in community, stay in fellowship with God, and, help people. Since then, I think what he changed about me a lot is compassion. Like, he's given me compassion where I don't have that ill feelings towards people. Like, even the guys that I was getting into it with when I was in the program, they're back now in the program. And, I get to help them with their struggles. And it's, God's good. Like, he's the way he just does things. It's just crazy. And so this year, or it's gonna be this next month, my other brother, my youngest brother, he just passed. He overdosed. So I don't want to say it's easier. I could say it's easier, but it still hurts, But like God, like, it's a difference though. Like, I could still walk with my head up. I could still help his sons. He has 3 boys that are just lost right now, and 10, 8, and 6. So they're little guys, and God's using me, my other brothers, to help them, and so there's so much going on. But there's a huge difference on how I get up in the morning. Like how this wasn't happening. Like when my first brother passed, like. I stockpiled a bunch of guns in like 24 hours and like, okay, I'm going to town. I'm going to just burn the city down. And now it's like, I got outside and started praying, and like God's like, this is what happens, I didn't want this for him, but but there's a difference though. There's a difference way I deal with that. There's a difference way I deal with life today. And, these guys had a huge impact in my life, helping me live a certain way, helping me, helping me find who I am in Christ, and it's played a huge part. And like today, I get to do that for someone else, right? It's not about me every day. It's not about, I get my kids every weekend, and my son, he's 7, and now I know God's my anchor, and he allows me to have them every weekend. And life is good. There's still struggles, divorce, but all these other things. Life happens. Life is happening, and good and bad. But God is still good. And so I'm pretty excited over this. I thank you guys for allowing me to share. And yeah, great job.
Thank you.
Great. So having done this since 2009, I've got to watch a lot of people, and the hardest thing is, I think, sometimes to comprehend or believe is because people meet guys that have graduated from Joshua House, and then some point in time later on they hear their story and just go, I can't believe that. You know what I mean? I can't believe that person was like that, and this is who they are now. And I will say, Gabe, when he first got there, we had a lot of things we worked on. You know what I mean? Of redirecting his life. But I'm going to say probably the biggest thing that God has done. So I started in 2009. I'd been a pastor at that point in time for probably around 30 years, but I never really worked with people in addiction. And so I was doing it mostly by myself. And I remember the first guys, I would ask them, are you using heroin? Are you using this? Oh, no, we're not doing that. And so we started in 2009, around 2012, a guy who had been in prison in Idaho for 6 years, his name is Miles, he's our program director now. He kind of came and started hanging out, so I gave him little jobs and this and that and whatever. I remember the first time we were in a meeting, we called a guy in and Miles was telling me, yeah, he's using. I'm like, God, he told me he's not using. So I finally said, well, maybe we should buy some drug tests. You know what I mean? So we bought some drug tests. Yes, he was using. So I guess the point of that is over the years, since 2009, God has really put together a team. I met Winston maybe in 2018 at a men's Bible study, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And when we finished the Bible study, I went up and introduced myself to him, and he said he worked in recovery. And I said, oh, that's kind of what I do. And then we had some dreams together of what we could do. And then in 2020, Winston joined our staff. He has a Bachelor of Science degree in addiction counseling and has now finished his MDiv at Fuller Seminary. So We talked about, what the future could look like and how he could become part of the team. And he's the one who, after Gabe graduated, said, hey, what if we brought Gabriel on staff? And so we did that a year and a half ago,
Year and a half.
about a year and a half ago. So, and when Winston was talking about how our success rate has gone up, I would say really it's because God has put together an incredible team of guys where, a lot of stuff that I didn't know how to do or what to do or whatever, God has just built this team. And that's why now, so we have 14 guys in first phase and we only have an 8-bed second phase. So that's why we're hoping to add the second home with 2 more bedrooms. That would get us up to 12. So, which is incredible. And then we have guys on a waiting list waiting to come in. And I don't know if you know this, but fentanyl is now the leading cause of death of 18 to 24-year-olds in the United States. There's people ODing all the time in San Clemente. And our heart, and I see you doing that. So all I can say is this stuff matters. It matters big time what we do. And we've lost too many guys in this battle. We lost 3 great guys last year that all graduated from Joshua House. They're no longer with us. So I just want to tell you about 3 guys really quick. So a guy named John came through our program. He was a heroin addict, a meth addict, and whatever. And he told me he's from Cardiff by the Sea. That's where he grew up. So fairly wealthy family. He had inherited $500,000 from his grandmother, and he went through all that money. He bought new cars, hotels, parties. He bought 5 brand new cars and wrecked 5 cars. So when he got to us, he didn't have anything left. And anyway, he went through the program, graduated. Probably about 3 years ago, he called me up and said, hey, I met this girl. She was working on her master's in theater arts at Long Beach State. I did their wedding. They had a little baby boy. He lives right here in Ladera Ranch and manages a pretty big recovery program that has homes from here, I think, all the way to Hollywood. And so I see the picture of him and his wife and his little baby son. It's just like a great picture. Then there's another guy named Caleb. He's from San Clemente and went to San Clemente High School, got messed up with drugs. His mom got divorced. He had a stepdad that he didn't like, and life just became really a big struggle. And he told me the stuff that he did with drugs, which I could not even repeat in this room, but he did stuff with drugs that I've never even heard of before. I think he was 19 when he came. And anyway, he started working for a recovery program. He met his wife there. I did his wedding. And about maybe 2 months ago, he called me up and he said, hey, Pastor Jim, my grandmother called me like 3 months ago and said the FAA is hiring flight controllers. And I applied. 57,000 people applied. And he said, and I've gone through, I think he said 11 different online tests, interviews or whatever. And I'm down to like the final few. And about 2 weeks ago, he called me up and said, hey, can you write a letter that explains everything that you did at Joshua House? So he hasn't got the job yet, but from where he was to where he's at now is just incredible. And there's a guy named Devin. He's from Mission Viejo. He came probably 7 years ago to Joshua House, went through, graduated. He was a major heroin addict. And like maybe a third of the way through Joshua House, I told him he could, if he wanted to, he could start going to Saddleback. So he picked up a class there, went all the way through Saddleback, got his AA, and I can't remember, I think it's fashion merchandising. Graduated from there and then went to Cal Poly in Pomona, I think. And he just graduated with his Bachelor of Arts degree in fashion merchandising, is working on a job. But he does our eBay sales for us. And last year we did $150,000 of sales on eBay. And he's the mastermind behind all that. So it is, thank God I have these stories. We have both sides. We have success stories, but even all those guys, we know where they are. We know that we're going to see them again one day, but it's still sad for the people that loved and cared about them. So anyway, it's been an amazing journey, 15-year journey for me of learning how to do this. God's put together a great team. Our success rate is getting higher and higher and higher. So anyway, thanks.
I do want to open it up to
Yeah.
questions, but even before I give it to you guys, you never mentioned that they don't charge a dime for this.
Yeah.
And the people that are in the program, could you, I mean,
Yeah.
Winston, you did a perfect job of explaining the things you guys try to take over as a family.
Yeah, I mean, as a family, so the lives that we come from, they lead to a lot of complications, right? Like lead to legal issues. I mean,
Child support, DUI support,
DUI
anger
classes,
management.
all sorts of fines and fees. Some guys don't have their driver's license, if whether they've been suspended or not. So what we try to do is we try to get any hurdles out of the way while they're in the program. So we take guys to court. We write letters on their behalf, which God uses, and judges are super gracious and merciful, and they give them opportunities to drop the warrant so they're not getting arrested. I mean, we help guys get through DUI classes. We help guys get caught up, well, maybe not caught up, but at least get what we can with child support. And we help guys get their licenses back. And I don't want to say anything too soon, but one of our guys, I'm pretty sure, is about to get his contractor's license. And he tried to get it before, and they denied him. And due to this process, showing the proof of his progress, I think he's gonna get it. But, but we try to treat these people like our family, and just as God has treated us, taking on our burdens, we try to take on their burdens. And obviously we can only do as much as we financially can, but the thrift stores, La Tienda and Restoration Thrift Store, I mean, the generosity in that community is incredible, and that has helped us get really far. But I mean, we would love to continue on that journey and see what we can take on. And first off, I want to thank you both for Aiden Whisper now contributing to participate in our journey financially. And obviously this right here is huge. So I just thank you all for being here. Yeah. But yeah, so God does a lot. God does a lot. So is there any questions? Is there any questions? Yeah. Yes, Lisa.
So quick question, I mean, a lot of times I know addiction can trigger mental illness and vice versa, right?
Yes.
Do you guys have any kind of support with regards to how you guys handle people with mental illnesses?
I mean, we don't have anyone on staff that is a licensed clinician, but we do make sure that the entire person is considered in their health. So we do, we have multiple guys where we take.
We get most of them on Medi-Cal,
Yeah.
so then we can
Yeah,
get them in to see a professional. So we have guys on psych meds. When they get there, they're standing in the aisle, hanging clothes, laughing and talking, to someone who's not there sometimes. I mean, that kind of stuff. So, but he's that guy. His name is Michael. He's getting ready to graduate. He's a totally different person than when he first got there. Yeah,
Night and day.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's definitely something we consider, and
Yes.
we do everything we can to
Yeah.
implement that.
Yep.
Yes.
Regarding the mental health, do you need a psychologist that would need, if they would to donate their time?
I mean, yes. That'd be
Is
fantastic.
it okay if it's a female though, although it's
Yeah.
on all men?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then I know you were saying you guys clean records legally. Do you need a lawyer for expungements that
I
would
mean,
be
we would love that.
written?
Yeah,
Okay.
Sure.
very
Okay,
much.
I can stay connected.
Okay.
We have a few people in our church that would probably love to do
Oh
that.
wow,
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm so sorry for crying.
that's okay. It's okay.
We
Yeah.
just lost one of our youth.
Oh, you did. Shoot. Yeah.
Sorry to hear that. Thank you.
Well, I just want to say a couple things. Kim and I founded Aiden Whisper for a reason, and that reason is sometimes the name of Aiden Whisper is very important, because Aiden Whisper is the word Aiden come from Edan, which is God's great, and that whisper is God's talking through. Kim and I been taught. Sorry. So, organization like these organizations are very important to us. Personally, it's very important to us. We want to be part of these organizations, because these organizations save people. We all struggle. Okay, we all sin. We all struggle. His sin is no different than my sin, than any of you guys, right? We're all the same sinner. But hey, every once in a while, we need to help each other. So you might not able to donate any financial, and you might able to, but there's stuff in your closet you don't want. Your stuff that you don't want, it's their treasure that they can sell and they can give it away. Any time you donate is no different than me donating thousands of dollars. There's no difference in that, because your time is valuable too. So I encourage you to get involved. This or any other organization, it changed your life. It changed inside of you. There's something that changed. So I want to tell you today, Kim and I, anybody who donates any money will match it. Anything that you donate, you give, we'll match it. If you want to donate cash, if you don't, if you want to donate your stuff, please do. They have thrift store that they sell. If you can't donate anything, you want to donate time, and this is not raising money or anything like that, please don't take it that way. Because when the kids come home with the stuff that they need to go and go door to door and say, okay, how much do you have? How many cookies do I have to buy? I'll buy them all. So I don't want you to go door to door. So this is not about that. So I want you guys to just get involved in something that actually make change in other people. Thank you for all being here. Really, thank you. Thank you for listening. Great story. Good job.
Thank
guys.
you.
I can
Thank
tell
you for sharing.
So thank you.
guys for having us.
Good stuff, Final, sir.